think about this for a second. Um, Imagine you want to learn how to play the piano,
Okay, I'm picturing it.
and you dedicate like 5 solid years to it, just fully committed.
That is a lot of dedication.
Right. But for those entire 5 years, you never actually touch a keyboard.
Wait, never. Not once.
Not once. You just sit at a desk, read sheet music in absolute silence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you memorize the history of the instrument. You take these multiple choice tests on like where middle C is supposed to be.
I think I see where this is going.
And then one day, someone just shoves you onto a brightly lit stage in front of a live audience, points to a grand piano and says, "Play Mozart."
Yeah, that would be a complete train wreck. I mean, it would be a disaster.
Totally.
You might intellectually know what the notes are on the page, sure.
Yeah.
But your fingers wouldn't have the slightest clue what to do with the actual keys.
Exactly. The physical connection between your brain and your hands it wouldn't exist.
Right, because you never built that connection.
Yet, when we step back and really look at it, that is the exact way most of us are taught to speak a new language.
It really is. It's wild when you frame it like that.
We sit in these silent classrooms, right? We stare at textbooks, we fill in the blanks, and we are completely disconnected from the actual physical act of speaking.
Yeah, just reading in silence.
So if you are listening to this right now, our mission today is to basically rescue you from the frustration of that traditional silent grammar book learning.
It's time to break out of that cycle.
Because whether you're trying to master a new language for a job, or maybe prepping to give a big presentation, or you just want to stop freezing up when someone speaks to you.
Which happens to so many people, by the way.
It really does. But this deep dive is meant to completely change how you view the act of opening your mouth and speaking.
And we've been looking through some really, really compelling material to figure out why those traditional methods leave people so stranded.
Yeah, we've got a great stack of sources today.
We do. We're drawing from Lindquist's linguistic methodology in a book called Learning Spoken English.
Which is fascinating.
It is. And we're pairing that with practical frameworks from the British Council, Burlington English, and Planispark.
Right.
And to tie it all together, we're looking at the motivational psychology of Muniba Mazari. She has some incredible insights on, like, the actual fear of speaking.
So I want to start with the biggest misconception out there, which seems to be this idea that learning a language is just a massive memory task.
Oh, yeah, the whole downloading a dictionary into your brain idea.
Exactly. But Lundquist takes a totally different angle. He looks at the neurology of speech,
This part is so interesting.
and he uses this engineering concept, open loop versus closed loop systems. Can you kind of break down how a sprinkler system applies to human neurology?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a really helpful way to visualize what is actually happening in your body. So an open loop system is like a basic lawn sprinkler hooked up to a timer.
Okay, standard sprinkler.
Right. It turns on at 6 in the morning, it waters the grass for 30 minutes, and it shuts off.
Right.
It just runs blindly.
Right, it just does its thing.
Exactly. If it's literally pouring rain outside, that sprinkler is still going to turn on and flood the yard.
Because it doesn't know any better.
Right, because it has no way of gathering information about its environment.
Yeah.
It operates completely without feedback.
It just executes a program, regardless of reality.
Yeah. But a closed-loop system, on the other hand, uses real-time feedback to adjust its own behavior.
Okay.
So imagine that same sprinkler, but now it has a soil moisture sensor.
Oh, fancy.
Very fancy. So if the soil is already wet from the rain, the sensor sends a signal back to the valve, and the sprinkler stays off.
Because it's getting feedback.
Yes. And human speech is a highly complex closed-loop system. It is not just a brain activity. When you speak, 3 things have to happen at the exact same time.
Okay, what are the 3?
First, your mind provides the memory and vocabulary. Second, your mouth produces the sound, which gives your brain what we call proprioceptive feedback.
Proprioceptive feedback. That's the physical feeling of your own body moving in space, right?
Yes, exactly. It's the physical sensation of your muscles, your tongue hitting your teeth, the vibration in your vocal cords, the control of your breath.
Like how you can touch your nose with your eyes closed.
Precisely. And then finally, the third thing is your ears. They provide auditory feedback, meaning you hear the words you just produced.
Right.
Those 3 elements, the mind, the muscles, and the ears, they have to loop together continuously.
Which completely explains why traditional grammar-based learning falls apart in the real world.
It totally does.
Because traditional learning is almost entirely silent and visual. You are isolating your memory from the physical feedback
You're
loops.
cutting off the sensors.
Right. It's like trying to learn how to ride a bicycle by only reading a physics textbook.
That is a great analogy.
You can memorize the mechanics of balance all day, but until you get on the bike and let your inner ear and your muscles give you that feedback, that proprioceptive sense, you're just going to fall over.
You're going to crash because you are essentially starving your brain of the sensory data. It absolutely needs to calibrate pronunciation and syntax.
Wow, starving your brain.
Yeah, your mind literally has to learn how a correct sentence physically feels in your mouth.
Physically feel that is such a wild concept.
Lundquist points out something so subtle but crucial here. The statement, "This is a book," physically feels different to the nerve receptors in your lips and tongue than the question, "Is this a book?"
Oh, yeah. The intonation rises at the end of the question. The breath changes.
The tension in the jaw is different, everything.
And if you don't speak out loud at full volume during your study time, you just never build those neural pathways.
You can't. The physical data just isn't there.
Okay, so if we establish that speaking out loud is physically required to train this muscle memory, the next logical hurdle is figuring out what we should actually be saying.
Right, what's the actual practice material?
And I'll admit, going through the sources, I hit a massive contradiction here that left me completely paralyzed.
Which part?
Well, Lundquist has this rule number 4. He says, quote, "You must never make a mistake when you are practicing spoken English."
Ah, yes. Rule 4.
When I read that, it terrified me. I mean, if I have to be perfect, I'm literally never going to open my mouth.
It sounds incredibly rigid on the surface, for sure.
Yeah, like who doesn't make mistakes?
But his reasoning goes right back to that closed-loop neurology we were just talking about. Because speech relies on muscle memory, if you practice incorrect grammar or bad pronunciation, you are physically training your mouth to speak incorrectly.
Oh, man. So I'm hardwiring the errors.
Exactly. You are building bad habits into your neurological pathways. And unlearning a physical habit is so much harder than learning it correctly the first time.
That makes a terrifying amount of sense.
Right. So he advocates for using perfectly controlled texts, like reading a well-written article aloud or repeating professionally recorded drills so that every single physical repetition is flawless.
But wait, how does that square with Miniba Mazzari?
Oh, this is the contradiction you meant.
Yeah. Because we've been reviewing her speeches, and she has this incredibly passionate advice where she tells people, don't wait for perfection, speak broken English.
She is very adamant about that.
She argues that waiting around to be perfect is the biggest trap, and people lose years of their lives to the fear of making a mistake.
Which is also true.
So which is it? Am I supposed to be a perfectionist who never makes an error, or am I supposed to just embrace being a reckless mess?
It's a great tension to highlight, because they really do sound mutually exclusive.
Yeah, if I'm a listener, I'm confused right now.
But the key is understanding that these two pieces of advice apply to two entirely different environments.
Okay, how so?
Well, Lundquist's concept of perfect practice belongs in your solo, controlled learning environment.
Like when I'm studying alone.
Exactly. When you are alone in your room doing drills, you want to be meticulous. You want to build that foundational muscle memory with pristine input.
So that's the safe zone for perfection.
Right. But Mazzari's fearless broken English applies to the real world. When you step outside, the goal completely shifts.
Okay. The goal shifts from perfect practice to actual communication.
Exactly. You practice perfectly in private so that you can have the courage to be imperfect in public.
That is a great way to put it. Perfect in private, imperfect in public.
Because in public, connection matters more than grammar.
That makes total sense in theory.
Yeah.
But going from flawless private drills in your bedroom to suddenly speaking broken English in a crowded coffee shop or like a boardroom,
It's a big leap.
it feels like jumping off a cliff. What does that messy middle ground look like? How do we actually build these tracks in private so the train doesn't derail in public?
This is where Planisbox methodology comes in. They have a very specific tool called the shadowing technique.
Shadowing.
Yeah, and it bridges that gap perfectly. The concept is that you take a short 1 to 2 minute audio clip of a native speaker. You listen to it, and you repeat what they say immediately.
Just immediately.
Like an echo, just a fraction of a second behind them.
Oh, wow. Like in those racing video games where you do a time trial against a ghost car.
A ghost car, yes.
You aren't trying to invent your own route around the track. You're just tracing the exact path of the champion ahead of you.
That is a really accurate way to picture it.
You just match their speed, their turns, until their perfect timing becomes your muscle memory.
Yes. And biologically, shadowing does something uniquely powerful. It removes the cognitive load.
What do you mean by cognitive load in this context?
Well, when you are trying to speak a new language, your brain is usually panicking.
Very true.
It's trying to invent the vocabulary, stress about the grammar rules, and figure out pronunciation all at the exact same time.
Which is why my brain just shuts down.
Exactly. But by shadowing a recording, all of that pressure is gone. The words and the grammar are provided for you.
Because they're just echoing.
Right. This allows your brain to devote 100% of its processing power purely to mimicking the rhythm, the intonation, and the physical mouth movements.
That is brilliant. It isolates the physical practice. Now, Planet Spark makes a massive point in their guide about the volume of your voice during this.
Oh, yes. This is non-negotiable for them.
They say you must speak aloud and you absolutely cannot whisper. Why is whispering such a problem if you're just practicing by yourself in your bedroom?
Because whispering completely hides your mistakes. And it bypasses the proprioceptive feedback we just talked about.
Really, just by dropping the volume?
Yeah. Think about it. When you whisper, you aren't engaging your vocal cords. And you aren't using the full range of breath required for actual speech.
Oh, I guess that's true. You're just pushing air through your teeth, basically.
Right. You might think you're getting the pronunciation right, but you're only practicing half the physical mechanics. You have to use your full, normal speaking voice.
So we are shadowing at full volume. That's the private practice. But what exactly are we shadowing? Burlington English suggests starting with these bite-sized, everyday sentences.
Yes. Very simple stuff.
Things like, I am feeling tired, or what do you do? Honestly, it seems almost too simple.
It seems simple, but it's about building a foundation out of solid bricks, rather than trying to construct a whole house all at once.
Right.
If you can automate those small sentences, you don't have to think about them at all when you're in a stressful conversation. They just come out automatically.
Okay, I buy that. But what about the hardest part of any language verb conjugations?
The dreaded verbs.
Right, because I remember sitting in high school language classes and they would teach us present tense, like I run today, and then maybe next month we'd get around to learning past tense, I ran.
And by then you're completely confused.
Exactly. It just never stuck. Lundquist has a specific strategy for this, right?
Yes, and it addresses that exact frustration. Lundquist says the traditional timeline of teaching verbs is terribly inefficient.
I knew it.
His strategy is that you should learn all tenses and persons of a single verb simultaneously as one complete block.
Wait, all of them at once?
Yeah. For example, you practice shadowing. I call, he calls, I called, I will call, all in one breath.
Really? Why does doing it all at once help? Doesn't that just overload your memory?
It actually prevents the mental bottleneck. It trains your brain to understand the entire concept of the verb as a single connected unit.
Oh, I see.
When you learn them months apart in school, your brain files them in completely different places.
Like different chapters of a textbook.
Right. So in a real conversation, if you want to switch from the present to the past tense, your brain has to literally pause, search its database for the rule you learned a month later, apply it, and then speak.
Which takes way too long in a fast-paced chat.
Exactly. But if you practice the verb block as a single muscular habit, I call, he calls, I called, I will call, you can intuitively swap tenses in real time without pausing to calculate math rules.
Because you're just pulling the whole file folder at once.
Precisely. It becomes a reflex, like catching a ball, rather than doing an algebra equation.
Okay, so let's say I've done the work. I'm doing my full volume shadowing. I'm practicing my verb blocks. I've got my physical tracks built.
You're ready.
Right. I step out the door, and someone asks me a complex question, and immediately my mind goes completely blank, my palms get sweaty, and I freeze.
We have all been there. It is the worst feeling.
It really is. Even with ironclad muscle memory, the psychological barrier of anxiety just shuts the system down.
It's a real physical reaction.
The British Council has some really interesting research on this. How do we stop the system from freezing?
Well, the British Council breaks down speaking anxiety by looking at those exact physical symptoms you mentioned. The racing heart, the sweaty hands, the mind blanking.
What triggers all that, though, just from talking?
Anxiety spikes when we feel a loss of control. When you're speaking a new language, you are acutely aware that you might lose control of the conversation at any moment by simply forgetting a word.
Oh, that makes sense. It's the anticipation of failure.
Right. So their primary strategy to combat this is to, quote, plan for problems.
Plan for problems.
You take back control by accepting in advance that you will forget a word. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you have a specific plan for when it does.
It's like having an emergency parachute packed.
Exactly. When you forget a word, the natural instinct is to panic and just stop talking. The deer in headlights look.
Yep, I've done that.
But the British Council suggests having stalling phrases ready and practiced. Phrases like, what I mean is, or, let me put it another way.
Oh, so you aren't just standing there in silence.
Right. This gives your brain a few extra seconds to calm down and search for a synonym without the conversation crashing to a halt.
It's about realizing that communication is never perfectly smooth anyway, even for native speakers.
Not at all.
A fluent speaker isn't someone who never makes a mistake. They're just someone who knows how to navigate a communication breakdown without panicking.
Yes. And that leads right into a really profound insight from Muniba Mazzari on how to navigate those thoughts. She calls it step 6 in her framework.
Oh, I remember this.
She says you have to stop translating in your head and start thinking in English.
Which sounds completely intimidating. I mean, how do you just stop doing something your brain does automatically?
It is hard at first.
When I look at a table, my brain instantly gives me the word in my native language. How do I bypass that?
It requires understanding the neurological bottleneck of translation.
The bottleneck. Okay, break that down.
When you translate, you are taking a thought, accessing your native language database, mapping it to the foreign language database, checking the grammar rules, and then finally mapping it to your motor cortex.
Wow, that is a massive cognitive load on your working memory.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It is simply too many steps to do in real time. So Mazzari says to start incredibly small to bypass this.
Like how small?
Look at a glass of water on your desk. And instead of translating the word from your native language to English, just point to it and think the English thought. This is a glass.
So you are linking the physical object directly to the new language, rather than linking the new language to your old language.
Yes, you eliminate the middleman, look out the window and just think, the weather is hot.
It's about labeling your physical environment directly.
Exactly. By doing that, you start to skip the translation bottleneck entirely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mazzari also points out a huge misconception that drives a lot of this anxiety. People think fluency means speaking fast.
Oh, I definitely thought that.
Most people do. But it doesn't. Fluency is about speaking clearly. So many learners rush their words to try and sound natural. They trip over their own tongue, and then their confidence is completely shattered.
So the fix is just slow down.
So you slow down. If you slow down, the anxiety naturally decreases.
Her thoughts on confidence really stood out to me, too.
They are so good.
Right. Think about the last time you had to do something difficult or uncomfortable. Did you wait around until you felt 100% ready before you did it?
You'd be waiting forever.
Exactly. Mazzari argues that confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes after speaking.
Yes. You have to act first, and the feeling follows.
It completely flips the script on how we approach difficult tasks. We often rely on motivation, right? We think, well, I'll practice my speaking when I feel motivated.
But motivation is a trap.
Totally. It is an emotion, which means it is fleeting. You might feel it on Tuesday, and it's gone by Wednesday.
Exactly. Both Mazzari and the British Council emphasize that consistency is the actual mechanism that rewires your brain.
Not motivation, consistency.
Right. 10 minutes of practice every single day is vastly more powerful than studying for 10 hours on a Sunday and then just ignoring it for a month.
It's like that saying, right? A river cuts through rock not because of its sheer power,
Yeah.
but because of its consistency over time.
That's a perfect way to look at it. And the British Council suggests actively noting your progress and setting up reward systems.
Because the growth is going to feel invisible at first.
It really is.
Yeah.
Mazzari compares it to a seed growing underground. You water it every day, but you don't dig it up every single morning to check if the roots are growing.
Because that would kill it.
Right. You just have to trust the process.
I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is a fundamental shift in how we view language.
I agree.
Because language anxiety almost always stems from treating it like a school subject. We approach it like it's a test we are going to be graded on, and any mistake is a failure.
Which puts so much unnecessary pressure on us.
But language isn't a test. It is just a physical tool for human connection.
When you shift your internal goal from, I need to be perfectly correct, to, I need to successfully communicate this idea to another human being. The pressure valve just releases.
So let's look at the whole picture we've painted today. Fluency is not just a memory bank sitting dormant in your brain.
Not at all.
It is a highly physical, closed-loop system where your mind, your mouth, and your ears all have to work in perfect synchronization. And you build that synchronization by changing how you practice.
Right. You utilize shadowing to echo native speakers, which removes the cognitive load.
You refuse to whisper.
Yes, you engage your full vocal range so your brain gets that physical proprioceptive feedback.
And you practice perfect blocks of verbs in private, over and over.
Building those literal neurological tracks so that you can bravely accept your own broken, imperfect English out in the real world.
And while these tools, choosing consistency over fleeting motivation, actively planning for your own failure with parachute phrases, and choosing to act long before you actually feel confident, while these are the secret to finally learning a language, they apply to so much more.
Oh, absolutely. The mechanics of mastery are completely universal.
Yeah. The idea of doing the perfect reps behind closed doors so you can execute with courage in public, that applies to giving a high-stakes boardroom presentation.
We're learning to code.
Or tackling literally any complex new skill.
It's all about preparing the physical habit so your mind is completely free to focus on the connection in the moment.
Which leaves me with a final thought I want to leave you with today. If our spoken language, something we view as so inherently tied to our intellect and our identity, is fundamentally just a physical, muscular habit loop governed by sensory feedback,
It's a huge reframing.
what other purely intellectual struggles in your life might actually just be physical habits waiting to be retrained? Whether it's your writing process, managing a team, or even how you regulate your own emotions. Maybe you don't need to read another textbook about it.
Maybe not.
Maybe you just need to get out of your head, stop staring at the sheet music in silence, and finally